On a late summer evening in 2020, the sound of gunfire shattered the heavy air of southeast Washington, D.C. 18-year-old Deon Kay was struck during an attempted police stop, collapsing onto the pavement as chaos unfolded around him. Within moments, another name was added to a growing national reckoning over policing and the use of force. Officers had approached a group of young men after reports of someone carrying a firearm. Body camera footage later showed Kay running as police moved in. Officer Alexander Alvarez pursued him on foot, shouting commands as the situation escalated in seconds. What happened next would be dissected frame by frame. As Kay stumbled and fell near a parked car, Alvarez fired his weapon. The bullet struck Kay in the chest, and despite efforts to save him, he was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Police officials initially stated that Kay had a gun in his hand when he was shot. Video footage confirmed that he was armed, but it also showed that the weapon was pointed downward at the time of the shooting. The question that followed was not whether Kay possessed a firearm, but whether the force used to stop him was justified in that precise moment. The case unfolded during a year already charged with protests and demands for accountability across the United States. Demonstrators gathered in Washington, D.C., calling for transparency and reform. Kay's death became part of a larger national conversation about how officers assess threats and how quickly life-or-death decisions are made. Prosecutors declined to bring criminal charges against Alvarez, concluding they could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the shooting was unlawful under criminal standards. But Kay's family pursued a civil wrongful death lawsuit, where the legal threshold would be different. In civil court, the focus shifted from criminal guilt to negligence and liability. During the trial, jurors were shown body camera footage repeatedly. They listened to expert testimony about police training, use of force policies, and the split-second judgments officers are trained to make. Attorneys for Kay's family argued that although he had a gun, he was not pointing it at officers and posed no immediate threat when he was shot. The defense maintained that Alvarez feared for his life, that Kay's movements were unpredictable, and that the presence of a firearm created a dangerous and volatile scenario. They emphasized the speed of the encounter and the difficulty of making perfect decisions in imperfect conditions. The courtroom became a space where perception, fear, and policy collided. After deliberation, the jury returned with a significant finding. Officer Alvarez was liable for Kay's death. They concluded that the force used was negligent. It was not a criminal conviction, but it was a clear civil judgment that the shooting was not justified under the circumstances presented in court. The verdict carried weight. Civil liability meant acknowledgement that the standard of reasonable care had been breached. For Kay's family, it was validation after years of grief and frustration. Outside the courthouse, emotions ran high. Supporters of the family called the decision a step toward accountability, while others warned about the broader implications for policing in high-crime areas. The verdict underscored the delicate balance between officer safety and the rights of individuals, especially young men of color during police encounters. For Kay's mother and relatives, the legal language of negligence could not restore what was lost. Deon Kay was described as a teenager with dreams, struggles, and a future that would never unfold. The courtroom could measure damages, but it could not measure the silence left behind at family gatherings. The case also highlighted a crucial distinction in the justice system. Criminal courts demand proof beyond a reasonable doubt, a high bar designed to protect against wrongful convictions. Civil courts ask a different question: whether it is more likely than not that wrongful conduct occurred. In Kay's case, that distinction shaped the outcome. Beyond the verdict, the shooting prompted renewed scrutiny of police policies in Washington. D.C. discussions intensified around de-escalation training, foot pursuits, and how officers are taught to respond when a suspect is armed but not actively firing. Each recommendation, each debate, traced back to a single moment captured on body camera footage. When the court says not justified, it sends a message that actions once considered routine may demand deeper examination. It signals that communities are no longer willing to accept official narratives without question. And it affirms that civil accountability can exist even when criminal punishment does not. The story of Deon Kay is not only about one encounter on a summer night. It is about how institutions respond when tragedy strikes. It is about how video evidence reshapes public understanding. And it is about a family's determination to seek answers in a system that often feels distant and unyielding. In the end, the verdict did not erase division or end debate, but it marked a moment when a jury looked at the evidence and concluded that the force used crossed a legal line. For some, that decision represented progress. For others, it raised new and difficult questions. What remains undeniable is this: an 18-year-old life ended in seconds, and years of legal struggle followed. The case stands as a reminder that accountability can take different forms, and that sometimes justice is measured not only in criminal convictions, but in the willingness of a court to say that what happened should not have happened at all.